The people suck. The weather is terrible. There's nothing to do. There's no opportunities. Everybody's religious. And I'm tired of it. I don't fit in Idaho anymore. So I'm moving back to California. That is what I told my friends and family when I was 19 years old and decided to pack up and move back to California. It ended up being a huge mistake, but there were some really important lessons I learned about Idaho that I would like to share with you today. And if you're thinking about moving to Idaho, you definitely want to know what these are to figure out if Idaho really is the right place for you. Let's go. Hello and welcome to another episode of Living Life in North Idaho. My name is Trent and I've lived in Idaho for 31 years. And obviously not consecutively. There was a small period of time that I moved back to California, but yes, I've been in this area for a long time. So if you are interested in knowing more about what it's like living, eating, working, playing, buying real estate here in Idaho, this is the channel for you. Tap the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so every time I come out with a new video, you're getting notified. So 19 years old and Idaho is no longer the place for me. It's time for me to get moved back to California. So I moved down to Lake Tahoe. I got a job at North Star Ski Resort. It was very similar to North Idaho, but I wasn't there anymore. I wasn't around the same people and it wasn't the same crappy weather. And so of course I'm going to be much happier, but I wasn't. I completely landed on my face, ended up coming back to Idaho, but there were some really important things that I had to learn in order to make life here in Idaho work. And I think some of these lessons that I learned are really going to apply to anybody who's looking at moving to Idaho, because some things are still very much so the same. And if you don't know the challenges you're going to face, you too could move to a different state and completely land on your face and have to move back. I don't want that for anybody. So today we're going to talk about those things that I absolutely hated and what it taught me about living in Idaho. So the first one, the weather, it does suck. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. The weather can absolutely be terrible here. I know down in Tahoe, they get more snow than we do, but you get these massive snowstorms and then it's sunshine. And I like sunshine. I don't love the gray weather. And so I thought, man, I'm going to be way happier going back to that. But what I learned is just because you have good weather doesn't mean that you're really going to be happier. Because when it costs so much to survive, I mean, yeah, things are a little bit closer than they were before, but Tahoe was ridiculous. I mean, I was making $15 an hour working at this ski resort and I was paying $500 to live in an uninsulated attic. I mean, they provided me a little heat dish and they're like, there you go, but it was freezing. So I really didn't get to enjoy really any of the weather because I was always having to work. But what it taught me about the weather in Idaho is you can't let your emotions, you can't let your outlook be determined by external factors that you have no control over. And yes, it can actually physically affect you. If you don't have the right vitamin D, if you're not taking care of yourself, that weather can definitely affect you. But what I learned later on is I can absolutely overcome the bad weather by exercising, eating healthy. You know, I do some fake and bake tanning. I know it's embarrassing, but that helps me. And so being proactive to overcome that challenge taught me that, hey, maybe I can overcome other challenges with the same mindset. The other thing that I really did not like about Idaho, and this luckily has changed, but it was the people. Living in a small town, especially growing up in a small town, you know, you make all your mistakes when you're a kid. And being in a small town, a lot of those people heard about it. They knew it and they would make judgments about the type of person that I was. And so I really felt like I could never quite get over the mistakes that I had made, that people would always remember me for who I was and not for who I am today. But again, this was just a challenge that was mostly in my head. And as I got older, I realized, you know what? That's not the people. Those are just the types of people that I was finding myself being around all the time. And once I eliminated that and started picking better people who accepted me for me and understood that forgiveness is a good thing and that people can grow past some of the mistakes, especially ones you make in your youth, I was so much happier. But if I would have just ran from that and tried to find other people in a different state, I probably would have run into that again. It had to change within me first, and having the courage to walk away from people and finding the people that accepted me for who I am today. And guys, real quick, I just want to say every single day I have people just like you that have been watching my videos and they're serious about getting moved to Idaho, or they just have some more questions before deciding if Idaho is really the right place for them. And we absolutely love that. So if you're serious about getting moved to Idaho, reach out at the phone number or email address listed below. There's also a website if you want to just go check out some homes before deciding if you want to talk to anybody about getting moved here. Totally understand. But yeah, we are here to help you decide if Idaho is the right place or help you get moved here. So reach out anytime. Now, this next one is still very much so part of living in Idaho, and it's still a big challenge, but there is a silver lining to it. Growing up in a state that is right to work, and if you don't know what right to work is, real quick, right to work is basically right to get fired for anything. It very much so benefits the employer because they can fire you for whatever reason. They don't even have to have a reason. They can just go, yeah, you're fired.
You're fired.
So figuring out how to have a sustainable life when your job is basically always in jeopardy, that was difficult. It also led to a lot of really bad bosses.
Name of this gastropod?
Simpson, sir, one of your chair moisteners from Sector 7G.
Yes, Simpson!
Because why would they need to become a better boss? They'll just fire you and find somebody else instead of trying to make that investment. Now, really, really difficult. It's still difficult to move here and be an employee and make a good living. But that actually taught me, don't trust the system. Don't be a W-2 employee. Don't rely on somebody else to take care of me, especially if I'm going through challenges in my life. Employers are just gonna fire you. So that led me to learning skills and finding jobs that I got paid piecemeal. As a technician, I got paid commissions in sales, and now I own my own business. And I think that is a much better path. If you wanna start your own business in Idaho, it is great with the right to work state, because the fact is you're starting a business, you might not be good at picking people and figuring out who's gonna be a good employee. So being able to get rid of them easily is actually a valuable component, but as an employer, you should figure out how to get better and figure out how to keep people on and not just be firing people because you want to. That's a terrible practice. And on top of the right to work state, you also had the issue of very limited opportunities. That's why a lot of my friends and family left. There was just not a lot of jobs that paid what you needed to have a decent life here in Idaho. Luckily, that's changed. There's a lot more opportunities now than there has been before, with jobs like plumbers and electricians, blue-collar jobs, construction, dental hygienists, medical. There's a lot of fields that have gotten a lot better. But growing up with limited opportunities, I was having to go to Spokane for almost all my jobs because nobody really wanted to pay me much here. And then there weren't a lot of jobs. And so anybody who had any more skill or experience got those over me. But what that taught me, again, was to not just rely on the employer, not just go to employers to learn things, but learn things myself. So for me, I'm very grateful for the limited opportunities, but I am glad that they're becoming more plentiful now. Now, this next one was very prominent, and luckily it has changed, but it took a lot to overcome this. Growing up in a small town where people were really religious comes with a lot of issues. And it might have just been the circles that my parents raised me in. I was homeschooled. We went to a lot of churches. I was actually planning on being a youth pastor when I was younger, but I'm so glad that I broke free of that religious mindset. And here's why. Some of you guys are like, what are you talking about? Religion is not a bad thing, but when you start pushing your beliefs on other people, especially young, impressionable kids, life can get really confusing. And how am I supposed to find my own autonomy and make my own decisions and learn from those decisions? And so for me, breaking free of that meant that I had to break a lot of relationships off. I had to go in a path that was not good. It was not healthy, but ultimately I did find my way all the way back. And now I understand that having religion in your town, having people that are religious, does have its benefits. And luckily people have chilled out quite a bit. They're not coming up and saying really awkward things and pushing their beliefs on you like they used to, but that was so difficult. And ultimately I am grateful for it because it did teach me what having a real relationship with my creator looks like and to avoid telling other people what they're supposed to be doing. And of course, growing up in North Idaho and in a resort town, you're going to have tourism. Now for me, I hated tourism. Mostly it's because I was jealous. I didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I didn't make a lot of money until in my 30s. And so being around a bunch of people that are coming here on vacation and they've got their really nice boats, they're packing the restaurants, so now I have a wait, they're raising prices on things and basically just kind of flashing their cash, not intentionally, But when you grow up in a small town and you're poor, that's how you perceive it. Now, for me, that was a really important lesson in life because that just made me feel miserable, but it wasn't their fault. It was me. I was focusing on the things that I didn't have versus looking around me going, I live in such a beautiful place. People want to come here and spend their money. I also didn't understand that tourism was a major part of our town surviving. You can drive through America and you can see so many towns that were once thriving and now there's barely anybody living there. Most of the people are addicted to drugs. There's no opportunities. And so tourism is what saved Coeur d'Alene from going down that road. I have a much different appreciation for it. And of course, being a young person growing up in a small town, you're always going to wish you had more things to do, more entertainment. And unfortunately, Idaho just didn't. If you wanted to be entertained, you needed to go outdoors. You needed to go explore. You needed to go fish. We had some bowling alleys and movie theaters and things, but there were no comedy clubs. There was no big concerts happening here. Now, I could go over to Spokane and experience those things, but when you don't have much money and your car is not very reliable, it's tough to get over there. But what I learned as I got older is that entertainment is like drinking or food or many other things that aren't exactly good for you. Less is more. And for me, going to concerts and going to movies and just constantly spending money and entertaining myself, I wasn't going to those places where I was getting to know myself and learning about being by myself and being comfortable. You learn that by going out into the woods. You learn that by being alone, by not distracting yourself. And so it actually was a huge benefit that we didn't have all that stuff, because once I started to realize, hey, I live in one of the best places to be outdoors, why don't I start doing that? I really started to understand more about what life was like. And now when I do go to a show, when I do go to a concert, or I go and have some entertainment, it is so much more fulfilling and so much more fun than if I lived in a place that I could do it all the time. And the last thing I learned from moving to California and coming back to Idaho, the Idaho lifestyle is ultimately what I want, and I want for so many people. It's the ability to live and let live. You've heard me talk about that in other videos, but it truly is. It truly is a place that you can move out here. You don't have government on your back all the time. You don't have people telling you what to do. You get to live. You get to make the decisions you want to make. Yes, we have law and order, of course, but you get out far enough in the woods, who's going to stop you? Just kidding. But seriously, there's a lot of freedom out in the woods, the freedom to just breathe and be alone and be yourself. I love it. There's the people here that are going to stand up for keeping life the way it should be, where you're free and you don't have government overreach, and you have the ability to struggle. You have the ability to overcome challenges, and you don't have the government trying to provide the easiest path to slavery, basically, right? Once you get hooked on the government, it's hard to get off. And so ultimately, moving to California was the best decision I made, because when I came back feeling like I had failed, I had so many challenges I had to overcome, and I overcame them. And now I'm the person I am today, someone I can be proud of, and I didn't just choose the easiest path. But that's not for everybody. So if you're just looking for an easier life, somewhere to just kind of get away and hang out, I don't know if Idaho is going to be the right place for you. There are places in Idaho, it's a lot easier to do that. But in North Idaho, you need to be ready to face some challenges, overcome them, become a person of your word. If you're not, have character and be ready to take care of yourself, because that's ultimately the gift Idaho gives us, and not everybody understands it. Guys, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comments section. I want to know what one of these things is a huge turnoff for you, and what thing makes you go, I want to get moved to Idaho. And of course, if you do want to get moved to Idaho, reach out at the phone number or email address listed below, day, nights, weekends. And until the next one, I will see you later.